Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another breakdown. This is going to be taking a look at the Russian warship Moskva that has been destroyed by Ukrainian forces in the Black Sea. This is huge news, so let's quick take a look at it, right? And then I'm going to break down for you guys if this could happen to the U.S. Navy. So we know this is actually a day dated. It sounds like the recovery efforts of the crew are not that successful, which I understand. This is a war, right? There's an aggressor and a defender, but I still have sympathy for the crew. Oftentimes, these are conscripts that don't have a choice about what they do or where they go. So that looks like they were destroyed by a volley of anti-ship cruise missiles, right? Cruise missiles, of course, are powered missiles that generally, I mean, all missiles are going to fly in an arc, but cruise missiles generally fly lower and slower than, say, an ICBM. And this is the largest warship, as they point out, in Russia's Black Sea Fleet. Black Sea Fleet. Seat flee. Yeah. But what is very interesting is that the Russian fleet does not operate in the same way that the U.S. Navy does. U.S. Navy is defined by its carrier battle groups, which is an aircraft carrier protected by up to a dozen or more other warships of various capabilities and capacities. And these carrier battle groups are meant to be able to protect themselves and each other and perform a wide variety of missions. They're sort of like a floating Swiss Army knife of foreign policy. In contrast, Russia relies on warships, right? They don't really have carriers, but they will have battle groups that look like they involve frigates, destroyers, submarines, but they don't really bring the same sort of mobile airbase type of operation that a U.S. carrier group can. While Russia still operates carriers, they don't seem to, because they don't seem to have the same air doctrine. These sort of warships are more likely to do things like safeguard ports from other warships or engage in supporting operations using cruise missile strikes. Russian defense minister said the cruiser suffered significant damage and a fire broke out and set off its ammunition. If there's one thing you guys have learned, it's that the old Soviet tactics of deny, 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 and minimize is in full swing, right? Famously, the Soviets completely downplayed Chernobyl, pretended it didn't happen, then acknowledged a small contained fire, and it was months and months before they admitted the full scale of the damage that occurred at Chernobyl. Yes, being sunk into the water is technically counting as evacuation. Again, just a commitment. So one of the reasons that you have these things that are sort of blatant lies are twofold. One is the unwillingness to deliver bad news, right? In a dictatorship hierarchy, being the bearer of bad news is itself bad news for you, for your career, possibly for your life. And so no one wants to admit failure. The result is that it's commonplace to lie about everything and hope you never get called on it. It's literally safer to just lie about things like the readiness of your troops, the reality of an accident, and hope to just bury the truth under a mound of lies. It's obviously, when you have an open press, it's much harder to do, but it's still going to be more advantageous for your livelihood if you don't tell the dictator with a long history of murdering people the reality on the ground. This is, of course, toxic to a military where the reality on the ground has to get communicated to the highest possible authority. And I'm not going to act like the U.S. isn't guilty of this, right? The Afghan war is famous for having a horrendous picture on the ground, especially about the status of Afghan security forces. And at almost every level, there was a culture of lying about how capable and competent these Afghan security forces were. And at the highest levels, it looked like the Afghan security forces should have been a tremendously equipped, tremendously successful force. But the reality was they almost certainly were just a ghost army. And this was because in the military, no one wanted to be the person holding the hot potato who said, actually, guys, this Afghan army is basically empty. And as we've covered in previous videos, right, this is another large warship taken out. Yeah, their two largest warships are now gone, apparently. This is news to me. So let's talk a little bit about if this could happen to the United States. Now, so what destroyed the Moskva is a cruise missile, right? This is something that is supersonic. It's very fast, and it is targeted, right? I think it's fair to say we all pretty much know what cruise missiles are. But the U.S. military invests massively in technology to stop cruise missiles. They are not undetectable by radar. They are, while they're fast moving, they are not that fast moving. You can have counter missile systems, anti-ballistic missile systems of various sorts, and these ABM systems protect the carrier battle group, and there are ships equipped with them. I think the specific details of which ships have them and how they operate are not public, but rest assured, the fact that these ships, the carrier battle groups, have robust anti-cruise missile systems is not a secret, right? And so we rely on those to counter cruise missiles, because cruise missiles have been a threat to naval ships since probably the 80s, I'd say. And so the idea that Russian battleships don't have ABM technology, or have ABM technology so unreliable that it failed in the face of two Ukrainian cruise missiles, is pretty embarrassing for the Russians. But could this happen to the United States? Unfortunately, I think the answer now seems to be yes. And this is because of a new type of anti-ship ballistic missile, ASBMs, called carrier killers. Carrier killers like I think it's the DF-31. But what makes it so dangerous is that the warhead itself reaches insane speeds. These are a type of hypersonic weapon, right? And so anti-ballistic missile systems are designed to track and destroy incoming missiles that are going, a few times the speed of sound, supersonic, Mach 1, 2, or 3. But the carrier killers, like the DF-21D, I think it's called, and other similar systems, they follow the same trajectory as a ballistic missile, right, or as a ICBM. They actually enter the Earth's atmosphere, and then it gathers speed as they fall to Earth, and they reach Mach 5 and above, which makes them extremely difficult to track, right? They enter radar range minutes or even seconds before impact, meaning that conventional anti-ballistic missile systems may not be able to detect and destroy them. Similarly, right, they're able to be guided onto their target. Now, it's not clear that they are super accurate, but the problem is that aircraft carriers are such valuable targets, and they're such expensive military investments, that if you can design a missile that's $10 million that is accurate only 20% of the time, it is vastly worth it to produce hundreds of these missiles and throw them on the hopes of destroying a single, trillion-dollar carrier or multi-billion-dollar carrier. So what that means, could this happen to U.S. forces? Not with this sort of cruise missile technology, but it could happen with some of these emerging anti-ship ballistic missiles. And then we talk about the hypersonic threat, right? This is one of the weapons in that umbrella. There's other hypersonic missiles that function in different ways, right? But this is one of the ones that definitely keep U.S. naval planners awake at night, is the idea that, you know, you can level up your cruise missile systems to something that can take out an aircraft like this. So anyway, guys, I hope this quick hit gave you guys some good information about not only why this is bad for Russia, but if this could happen to the U.S. Navy as well. If you want to see more content like this, definitely comment down below. Also, hit subscribe. I have this dream of getting to 100,000 subs, and I know a lot of you guys view this content, and I appreciate it. I'd love it if you hit subscribe, right? The algorithm's only going to show you videos that it thinks you're going to like anyway, so I just want the silver play button. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you later. Cheers.